Rewind. This is Kelly Florence,
And I'm Meg Hofdahl.
and we are recording live from Crypticon. We're talking to you from the past, and now it's the future. I don't know, something about time travel.
Yeah, and I'm just laughing because I'm literally sitting here eating out of a bag of buns. Like I'm just eating dry whole wheat buns out of a bag. That's what you do at a con, I guess.
Meg was like, is it weird if I bring this whole bag of rolls down? It's like a bag of 20 rolls, and I thought she meant she was going to eat them all in one sitting. But no, it's not weird.
I mean, I haven't eaten them all yet.
It's fine. I mean, I love a good roll.
I mean, carbs, right? Does anybody not like carbs? I don't think so.
They're delicious. We have an exciting movie to talk about because I think for both of us, we never saw, we're talking about The Hills Have Eyes, and neither of us saw this until we saw the remake, and then we went back and watched the original, right?
Yeah, so when I saw the remake that was done in 2006, which was produced by Wes Craven and directed by Alexandra, I don't know how you say his last name, Aja or something. I was like, wow, I kind of enjoyed it. It doesn't have the highest ratings, the remake, but I thought it was a well-done movie, and I was really intrigued. And that was a good example of sometimes, these remakes, it's nice because they do turn you on to going back and watching the original, especially in that instance when we hadn't seen it. So then, yeah, we both went back and watched the first one then.
And the moment for me, I mean, there were a lot of moments, but when those guys in the 2006 version, when they go in and the baby is in there, and this rewatch of this one too, but the baby's in there and they have the gun, I was beside myself.
The baby stuff is hard, and in 2006 we weren't moms yet, but now watching this one, it definitely hits home. But so just some information. First of all, can I just say The Hills Have Eyes is one of my favorite titles. I think it's just an amazing title to a movie. I think it makes it. So yeah, it was directed by Wes Craven, and it was inspired by several things, one of which was The Legend of Sawney Bean. Have you ever heard of that? So I won't get into all the details, but basically it's about a family that lived in sort of the hills out east. Think sort of the Appalachian Mountains. And this was way back, I believe I want to say 1800s, but it could have even been the 1700s. And they were known to eat people, basically. They were just a family that liked to eat people, and they were up in the hills. And people would come by and disappear, and they were, ground up and eaten. So, there's all these lovely American stories like this, and how could that not inspire somebody to make a horror movie?
Oh, yeah. I think the Appalachian Trail is fascinating and beautiful, and I would love to hike part of it. I don't want to do the whole thing like some people do. You'd have to take 6 months off of work or life to do that. But these mountain people who live and are sort of off the grid and don't have contact with the rest of society, that is fascinating and could potentially be terrifying.
It's fascinating, and one part of it is I sort of envy them in a way where it's people that live wherever they live off the grid. I mean, a lot of them turn out to be the Unabomber, but there are all these people that probably live and are very happy, and they don't even know who the president is right now. And maybe there's something to that.
Ignorance is bliss sometimes. I also think this is a fascinating look at the culture of people in poverty. And I think we got into that a little bit in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and how systemic poverty in a community can just sort of create and snowball into this way of life. And it's creepy.
Yeah, and I think for, those of us who come from middle class, there is such a disparity between even middle class, not rich people, but just middle class and poor people. And yeah, so it's kind of fascinating to sort of see how these people live and what they value. And of course we are shocked and appalled. And of course we're not saying that this is a great slice of life of what poverty is. This is very extreme. And these people, I know in the second book the second movie, they kind of explore the whole idea of nuclear testing and things like that. I don't think there's really any explanation in this one about why they are the way that they are.
I think they might talk a little bit about genetics and inbreeding in this one. I mean, I don't think they say those words, but I think that might be implied.
There is that guy at the gas station who talks about his son like being born all weird and how like he knew he was sort of evil from the beginning, and that was kind of an interesting soliloquy, I thought, and sort of brought you into what the world was like there. And I mean, what a great conceit for a movie too, like this family with the trailer and crashing, and of course there's no cell phones and they're screwed.
Yes, I think that actually getting stranded out in the desert would be the worst nightmare of my life. And with a baby,
oh my gosh, I know. I was like, well, they have the trailer, which is like kind of nice, but also kind of a disaster as well. And you know, it's funny because like it's during the day when it sort of happens, and there's a lot of them. So like, and they have their two big dogs. So I would like probably at first feel like, okay, everything's gonna be okay. Like, Dad's gonna fix this. At first they're not even like freaking out. They're kind of picnicking, and I mean, you know, it seems like everything might be okay, right?
oh, what a nightmare. So these were the days before seatbelts or car seats. And I don't know when they came more into the law or culture, but my parents said, my sister grew up in Texas in the 70s, and they would drive from Texas to Minnesota, and they would just put her in a laundry basket in the back seat because the baby could be contained there, but there weren't like car seats for infants.
Yeah, I remember my parents said they would just put my brother like in the back with the dogs, like just crawling around and stuff. So, so those were the days.
No.
Speaking of those were the days, the dad is racist and uses a racist word, which was sort of fascinating to see. And I knew he was going to die, so that kind of felt better.
Yeah, true. Speaking of the dad, he says he needs to walk 6 or 7. He's like, walk 6 or 7 miles. I'll walk 15 miles. It's like, do you know how long it takes to walk? I mean, apparently they didn't, or they did, because it's pitch black out, and it does not go well.
No, nothing goes well for anyone in this. I think the setup is really well done in this movie because it does make you, like I said, it kind of makes you feel like everything's going to be okay, and then you start seeing these characters out in the hills, and that the hills have eyes, and it starts to be very unsettling. And then the sort of how, and you can see, you know, they said that Wes Craven was inspired by Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and you can see how all of a sudden it flips. And we've got that trailer scene when they go in and steal the baby and kill Dee Wallace, who is known for many horror movies, and it's frightening. What makes it so terrifying is I thought it was very realistic, how everything went down in the trailer. Everything happens really fast. It's almost confusing. People are almost like kind of tripping over each other. The deaths happen really fast. And the mother, or grandmother, you can call her, gets shot. Everything just kind of, to me, felt very like natural and how it would happen. Just like the mom trying to protect her baby, all of it.
I agree, and it was shocking because normally you don't see that level of brutality at this point in the movie, maybe, or something, and it doesn't feel like a slasher movie. Like, oh, we know that there's going to be a body count, so it was like it took me aback.
Yeah, you almost feel like it's going to take a more traditional model of film where things are going to kind of slowly happen, and maybe one person will walk off and something will happen to them, and, you know, that kind of thing where it'll build. But this was really like, this carnage happens right off the bat.
Now, Meg, you're going to reveal to the world something about your soul here. If Scarlett ran off into the desert as you were trapped, would you go after her?
Okay, so do I know about the people yet? Oh, wow. Scarlett, my old elderly pug. I mean, it's time. It's time. Yeah. I mean, she probably was going off to die somewhere.
I guess what? I wouldn't go after my dog in this situation because I'd be terrified about this.
I mean, I would probably make Luke go do it.
There's an actual dog, like, coming over like, you bastards.
He heard us. We're not brave, but what I would do would be, I'd be like, Luke, go get Scarlett. That's what I would do.
And then he would be murdered.
Yeah.
I was like, please don't tell me the dogs are going to die, but they did, and their names are Beauty and Beast, and I love those dogs, and I'm so sad.
I know. I know it sucked when she died. I think it was Beauty died first. But then, can I just say how much I love that the other? I don't know. I think did Beauty knock the guy off the cliff? Okay, that was amazing. And then the other dog gets to kill Michael Berryman, which was so fun. Which I know is maybe a strange word to use, but can we have more dogs killing bad guys in horror movies, please?
Yeah, no, it worked great, and it was believable. Oh my God, okay, the devil child abandoned and raising a family in the hills is horrific and terrifying.
Yeah, that whole story, like I said, it was very cool, and it sort of set the scene of like what we're about to get into, and makes sort of a strange sense.
I was like, don't waste your bullets, like shooting out into, unless you see the whites of their eyes. I think the guy said, don't shoot until you see the whites of the fangs. Because, like, what? Oh my God! And then they ate the dog, Meg.
That's not okay, you guys. That's worse than eating a human.
And I said, oh, the baby. Oh no, the bird. Everyone. Like, it just kept getting worse and worse.
It kept getting worse, and I mean, they stole a baby, and then when I thought it was fascinating. So they get this baby, they steal it, and they're right away saying like they're going to eat it, and they bring it back. And as a woman, you're hoping that the women there will talk some sense, but they seemed like okay about eating it. Thankfully, there was that one woman who did not want to play along in their little family, which was good. But I think as a woman, I was just like, well, they're gonna say don't eat the baby.
That's so horrific. Can I say everybody's hair in the 70s looks like a wig, didn't it?
And may I point out, so I always like IMDb everybody as I'm watching it. And yes, all their hair looks like a wig. It's insane. And everyone is so aged up. Like the dad, I was reading about him, and it was like, oh, he died at the age of 52. And I'm like, he looks like he's 65 in this movie.
What? He was younger than 52 in that movie?
Yeah, he was younger than 52 in that movie. I'm like, that's so weird. Like 40 years ago, people, I mean, you just aged faster.
I mean, I know, like, the joke is, I was like, you see these old-timey pictures and the people are like in their 30s and they look like our grandparents.
Yes, like when we were at Edgar Allan Poe house, and he's like, this is a picture of him when he was like 38 or something, and it's like, oh boy.
Speaking of the baby, every time there's a baby crying in a movie, they're really crying and I hate it. And this baby, I mean, they were just running around in the hills with a baby in the 70s and it was crying.
I know, in the Mojave Desert. Like, I was reading about filming it, and apparently it was quite hot. And so the actor Michael Berryman that really became a horror icon. He plays Pluto in this movie. He does not have like the ability to like sweat, and apparently he was like miserable in making this movie. So I can't even imagine.
So he has this condition called hypohidrotic ectodermal dysplasia. So he has no sweat glands, no hair or fingernails. We know and love him from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. He was also in the X-Files. But I'm glad that he took this uniqueness about him and became a movie star.
I know, it's so cool. I was saying, it'd be great for him to do cons. I'm not sure if he does cons, but I could see him being a big hit because he's such a horror icon. And yeah, to take something and be like, I look a little different, and he made a career out of it, and he has a lot of money, so good for him.
Yeah. I wrote down, the mama bear feeling is real. I saw the remake while I was pregnant with Campbell, and I remember how it made me feel. And I felt differently even like being physically pregnant. And I mean, and not that I enjoyed child death before or anything in movies. I mean, it always has bothered me, but all of a sudden it like took it to this next level of, no, I would lay down my life for this child.
Yeah, and I kind of liked how the mom dies in the process, but then we get to see the dad. I believe in the remake it's the dad as well. Oh, and I was saying, yeah, it's just really cool to see sort of the daddy bear too come out and see him like doing whatever he can going through the desert, and we get to. Well, and part of it too is we're worried for this baby because after watching that trailer scene, we feel like anything is possible. And I mean, after in that era of film with Texas Chainsaw Massacre and everything, it feels like a baby could die. So I thought that was set up very well and made me worried.
Now you have a sort of a camper trailer similar to this, not exactly the same, but have you had any sort of long road trips and potential breakdowns, or have you always felt safe?
I do have a camper trailer like that, and I feel safe in it, except, you know what scares me? And I'm such a freaking wiener, but I've been in it when there's been, like, extreme weather, like, tornado nearby and stuff, and I am such a baby about it. I do not like, so I grew up, you know, in BC, and they don't really have, like, thunderstorms, so I wasn't used to thunderstorms until I was, like, in middle school all of a sudden, and then I just felt like a big baby about them, because they're scary, they sound bad, so I'm not a big fan of those, especially when you're in a trailer, because those are the things that go first in a tornado.
Well, and my parents, speaking of Texas again, my parents lived in Texas for like 6 years, and the tornado alley down there, well, your mom was from Oklahoma and your dad's from Texas. There's so many tornadoes, and they lived in a trailer park, and like those trailers and RVs and stuff, those are the worst things to be in, because there's nothing holding them down.
It scares me. I mean, that's something that is just randomness. Like, I always tell the story of my mom, like, the house next to her, all the bricks on one side of the house, like, got ripped off of the house. And it's like, if a tornado decides to come down, there's not much you can do about it. It's not like a freaking Hills Have Eyes guide that you feel maybe you could run away from. So, I don't know. Extreme weather kind of scares me.
No, it scares me too. And we don't have many tornadoes in Minnesota, but I've always been terrified because, like you said, it's random, and you could prepare for it, but you can't get away from it. If it's going to happen, it will happen regardless of what you do.
Yeah, I don't like it, and then my kids get nervous, and I try to be like the strong person and be like, it'll be fine, but they can like probably read the nervousness in me. I don't like it. So we'll have to do Twister someday.
I love Twister, and I also love, I think it's just called Tornado with an exclamation point with Bruce Campbell.
I mean, we should do like a whole marathon.
We'll do, when it's like extreme weather week or something.
Yeah.
Don't they have that? It's kind of like Shark Week, but they just show tornado stuff.
Yeah, well, we're going to do some research on this, guys, and we're going to bring you the best in disaster movies. So, something I loved in this movie was that the woman, the sister, I guess you can call her, I don't know their names, she kind of comes off hysterical like me if there's a tornado coming. She's screaming, she doesn't have and then all of a sudden it's sort of like logic kind of comes into her mind, and she actually like comes up with she's like, I have a plan, and she comes up with this sort of like Home Alone type trap to get this guy, and I kind of love it.
I love it too, and like people and characters don't have to be one-dimensional. Just because you're scared doesn't mean that you can't ante up or level up and take control of the situation. So I love that. It shows development and like, okay, I'm going to work it out, instead of I'm just hysterical and people have to keep slapping me.
Yeah, yeah, like in Clue. Yeah, so I kind of appreciated that it was her plan and they put it in motion. And she was scared, like when the trailer blew up and then the dude goes running back to like make sure he's dead, which is something really stupid that a guy would do. Like I can so picture Luke doing something stupid like that. Like I gotta go idiot. I gotta go make sure he's dead, you know. It's like, haven't you seen a horror movie before? And she's screaming at him like, don't do it. No. And I was like, that's how I would be in that situation. So I felt like kind of a kinship with her. This certainly is not a female-driven movie, but I was kind of surprised how much I liked her character.
Yeah, no, that's great. Do you think that your dad or Luke, I'm thinking of the men in our lives, like would either of them be like, I'll hike 15 miles and go see? Like, would they do that, or would they come up with a different plan?
Can't you see Luke hiking 15 miles? And he'll be like, I'll be right back.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
He's a pacer, he's a walker, so he would probably just like do it. And I mean, he may get lost. We're not the most outdoorsy people in the world, and he's very pale. What about Mark and your dad?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so, but like this whole scenario, it's hard for me to put it in perspective because we take it for granted that we can just call us, I'll call on our cell phone, or that we're probably going to be someplace where someone's passing and we can flag down somebody to help, but there's literally no one.
Yeah, I mean, I think they set that up so well, and I have to admit, as a woman, if I was in that situation, and I mentioned it before, I would be like, Luke's gonna fix this. If we were stuck in the desert in the middle of nowhere, I'd be like, Luke's gonna fix this, or my dad's gonna fix this. And I think that's one of the reasons I love horror movies so much, because a lot of times the women are put in these situations and they don't have somebody to be like, I'm gonna take care of this young lady. And that's how I've found my strength as a woman, is seeing those women and then putting myself in those scenarios and then learning how to become stronger just in like everyday life. So I kind of like to put myself in the situation of what would I do if it was just you and me there.
So wait, you're not fighting hill people in your regular life?
I mean, if Scarlett runs off, she's on her own. I'm not fighting the hill people to save her.
I'm not saving Bucky either. He's my chihuahua, and they gonna die.
I mean, I love you, Scarlett, but and besides, she hates the heat. She would never walk out in the desert. She would want to be carried anyway.
It was funny earlier that when we were talking about how we would let our dogs die, like somebody's service dog came up to us and was like sniffing like aggressively. So he knew.
Yeah, he heard us maligning dogs. But anyway, we love doggies. And like I said, oh my God, that scene where the dog like bites through his Achilles tendon and like kills him. Let's do a thing where every movie somebody edits in a dog killing the bad guy. Wouldn't that be great?
I love it. This is going to be the new Tumblr, the new YouTube channel. I love it.
And then like the dog gets like a sausage at the end or something. Somebody make that, please.
See, we're just coming up with all these ideas for you out there. Just give us a shout out. Let's rank this movie on a scale of 0 to 10. 0 being you hated it, 10 being it's a perfect movie. The scale, I mean, let's go with the dog pushing somebody off a cliff or something, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, that was amazing. The dog literally just ran up and, like, that guy, I just hit the guy over the cliff. Best ever. I give Hills Have Eyes. Oh, this is tough. I'm a little torn. So I'm going to give it a 7.5. And the reason I give it 7.5 is it's a little bit slow in the beginning. And, the characters, we don't get as much development in the female characters as I would like, but I still really enjoyed it. So I'm kind of want to give it an 8 too. I'll give it 7 3/4. Okay.
3/4 of a dog, you animal.
Now we're gonna like get PETA after us.
Yeah, well, it's a 3-legged dog. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine, and it's a pug.
And it's a rescue. Okay, so I'm giving it an 8 because I think it's solid. It's truly scary, and it's one of the real life kind of horror things. I mean, not that these people exist, but maybe they do. But I feel like they could. And it's there's nothing supernatural about this. It's just creepy AF.
It's, you're right. It's scary, and I mean, we've all seen those houses, and we've all seen those places where we're like, I'm pretty sure Leatherface lives there, and I'm pretty sure the Hills Have Eyes people live there. I mean, I think there are people in this world like that somewhere, even in 2019.
Yeah. Well, tweet us if you produce pictures of your neighbors if you live in the hills. We want to know. No, don't really do this. Well, you'll get in so much trouble.
Yeah, don't send pictures of your neighbors, but keep your babies safe.
Gosh. So remember to follow us on our social medias. We're at Horror Rewind. Also, you can visit our website, horrorrewind.com, or send us an email, horrorrewindpodcast@gmail.com. Visit Meg's website, meghofdahl.com, to get her books. Her novel's coming out this spring, you guys. Her sequel novel, right? Wait, tell us the title.
It's called Daughters of Darkness, and it's the sequel to Her Dark Inheritance, and I'm excited for everybody to read it.
And then also swing by my Etsy shop, Gothic Gifts, and pick up some horror-themed items for someone you love or for yourself, because you should love yourself.
You should. You know what? You're special.
So have a great week, Horror Rewind listeners, and until next time, we'll see you in the horror section.